week we'll be talking about the big hitters that came out of the Game Awards 2022, the director who blamed woke reviewers for Days Gone scores, the biggest union push of the games industry happening inside Microsoft. This week on What We've Been Playing, we'll be talking about Marvel's Midnight Sun, the Forspoken demo, the Seasons demo, God of War Ragnarok, all of this and more on Season 6, Episode 48 of Press X to Start podcast. What's up, everyone? I'm your host, DJ, a.k.a. Sexy Bad Choices, a.k.a. It is not your form. It is your nature. I love that line. Oh, I love that line. Who else is here?
Good line. It's your heavyweight champion from Wish Nigga.
Marcus, you go first since you're royalty at this point.
Okay. It's your heavyweight champion from Wish Nigga Wood, California. AKA the janitor because we watch niggas, AKA your Game Awards correspondent, AKA Cocaine Bear's cousin, the Crackoon, Marcus Ellison.
The Crackoon, though?
I am Sean MF Ross, your African American correspondent.
What the MF stand for?
Tyrone Williamson Biggins.
Last up, who we have?
I don't even know it. I don't even know anymore. My name is Avery. Let's just move on.
Yeah,
Consistency.
Yeah, it is. That's your name.
He keeps us grounded.
Now you know who we are. Press X Star Podcast is a weekly show where we talk about the latest gaming news, review the biggest games, and give you our thoughts on the games we are playing. Our goal is to expand the video game media landscape through an underserved point of view. On YouTube, get our games news breakout on Tuesday, what we've been playing on Thursday, and the whole thing is a podcast on Friday. If you are watching on YouTube, you can support us by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting the notification bell. If you are listening, we'd appreciate you leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or the podcast services you are tuned in on. If you want to join in our conversations, you can by going to pressx2start.com/Discord. Yes, we are on Discord. If you don't know what Discord is, go download it and join our conversation. That's all you need to do. That's all you need to do. Do it. All right. Now that I got that all out the way, I just want to make one announcement. And that announcement is we did a live stream of the Game Awards. It's on YouTube. Check it out. It's a good time. Pop some popcorn. Get a tall glass of Sprite or whatever you drink and watch it. We have a good time. You'll have a good time. Have a good time with us. Good times. All right. Now that that's out the way, we've got that all taken care of. I think it is time for us to jump into gaming news. Avery, what's happening in the wide corner of the game industry?
Cool. Okay, our next story is one of my favorite stories of this year, of this week, because it's such a nothing burger story from a relevant person, but it's an interesting topic. This is from Kotaku.com. This is from Levi Winslow. Days Gone director blames woke reviewers for game's middling reception. So what happened is that I believe John Garvin, the former director of Days Gone, was responding to someone on Twitter who was positive about the game and didn't understand how people didn't like it. And John Garvin's estimation of why people didn't like it was it had tech issues like bugs, streaming. Okay, no, I think the specific context is someone played Days Gone on PC and didn't understand how it got such a low reviews, like low Metacritic. And John Garvin's response is it had tech issues like bugs, streaming, and frame rate. It had reviewers who couldn't be bothered to actually play the game. And 3, it had woke reviewers who couldn't handle a gruff white biker looking at his date's ass, which then prevented the entire sphere of video game journalists to just dunk on this man for his bad takes that are anti-them. And while I don't want to weigh into the reviewers versus game developers context, I want to just talk about the meat of his thing and his actual thoughts on the game he made, in that I like Days Gone. I think it's a okay to good game, mostly on the good side. Where it becomes okay is that its main mechanic is the horde mode, which you don't get access to like 3/4 into the game, and then it's way too long. the game has a super satisfying climax midway through the game, and then keeps going on for way more in a completely different new area. And I'm like, why does this game do that? Also, Deacon is in the people complaining about characters talking and their barks. Deacon St. John has the worst video game barks of all time. You will be in stealth mode in the midst of a group of evil scavengers, and he will be screaming at the top of his lungs, "I'm gonna fucking murder everyone here, fucking freakers!" And I'm like.
I think that's a stage thing, stage whisper, quote unquote. And I think Marcus knows what I'm talking about. Where yes, it is supposed to be quiet in universe, but it's loud enough for us to hear.
Yeah, but he's so loud.
It's not even like this isn't like me playing Plague Tale and Amicia yelling. We're like, oh, this is clearly audible and people can hear this. This is you are yelling. This guy is 5 feet away from you. You're not speaking. You're not whispering. You are yelling this.
Son of a bitch.
You want to hear some screaming? Like, yo, Deacon, shut up. Also, homeboy, your game got mid reviews because your game's mid. Like it
got mid reviews because it's mid.
Hey man,
we got Last of Us at home. Like, I mean, let's just.
Yeah,
it's not because people are woke. It's because your story's not that good.
Also, anyone who complains about something and says, "Oh, it's because people are woke," you've instantly lost any credit. Any credit in terms of your argument. It's just you proving you're completely out of touch. It's. I don't like to use this as a dunk, but most of the articles that use it as a dunk have also want to remind you that he's now working on NFT games. So that is where he has gone in video games.
Perfect also, lateral move.
Like, the people who use the word woke now are people who don't know what woke actually means.
Unfortunately,
it's a dog whistle now.
Yep.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah. And then one of the most beyond this dunkable moment where video games press love to dunk on it and sort of prove how witty they are about how they can dunk on this. I think that really upset me about this statement is like. So you're also throwing your team under the bus when you say, "Oh, it had tech issues like bugs, streaming, and frame rate," and it forced Sony Ben to come out with a message and say, "Hey, man, you heard a message from someone who doesn't work with us here anymore, and we would all like to say that we worked really hard in this game, regardless of how everyone felt about it, and we don't take lightly to what he said about how it went."
Oh, yeah, that's just it's an old man upsetting his feelings.
Yeah,
like biker white man can't look at his wife's ass, bro.
They're like the white, like no. People are horny on Maine for no reason. That's not the issue.
Right.
I platinum Persona 5, bro.
And that game is, and trust me, that game is way more problematic.
Genshin Impact, my dog.
I'm allowed to date grown women as a 16, 17-year-old man in that game, and no one has a problem with it. In fact, that's actually more. In fact, that is more acceptable than me playing a teenage character than dating other teenage characters.
I play Gundam every day.
Disgusting.
If Joel Miller had a romance with Tess in Last of Us, we would be all fine with that. And that's a gruff white man.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so our next story is from VGC. This is from Tom Ivan. This is from Tom Ivan from VGC. Xbox claimed it held off price rises as long as it could, but something had to give. So we talked about earlier a couple weeks, about probably a month or so ago, the Xbox talked about, hey, we're gonna have to raise prices. Well, yeah, they've confirmed they're raising prices in 2023, and all Xbox Series X games are going to be $70 going forward. A quote from them. A Microsoft spokesperson said that the increased price reflects the content scale and technical complexity of the games. So there are two realms of thought of how this went. I'm gonna give them the most charitable realm of thought. Most charitable realm of thought is eventually they were losing money on games. Well, actually, no, it doesn't even make any sense because all their games are Game Pass games. So I don't even know if the charitable thing actually makes sense. Ultimately, the true rules of thought are that they want people to see their games at the same realm of quality of a PlayStation game. So they're willing to charge $70 for those games to put them on parity. I don't necessarily think that's how they were saying it. Some people say that is a rule of thought. The other, Yeah, I think that was the main rule of thought. That they want the price to reflect the thing. That's cool. Marcus, as the person who owns the Xbox on this cast right now, how does this make you feel about about Xbox games going forward?
I have Game Pass.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I don't know. It is like, all right. I mean, they were bound to do this because they are losing money compared to PlayStation, and of course, no one likes to lose money.
That's to your point. Are they losing money because of Game Pass?
We don't know that. We still don't know their numbers.
Well,
I would say yes.
That's an issue altogether.
I would say yes, they're losing money because of even though they have Game Pass, because the Game Pass is not 100% of their the people who have Xbox. Not everyone has Game Pass. So the people who don't have Game Pass and who are buying these AAA games, they're not spending $70 on. They're spending $60 or whatever on it. So in those purchases, they are essentially losing money. So I get it.
Yeah, economics of Xbox have never really made sense to me with Game Pass as a thing that they want to be their main revenue stream. But yeah, so everything is going to be up to parity, which is sort of enough. Which is I guess good. I don't know.
And I bet this is going to push more people to go to Game Pass because, like, I have to pay $10 more on this game. I'm gonna just spend that money in Game Pass.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. And then, actually, I feel like we can skip this story and move on to something. To the main breadth of this story is that, last week we talked about the Xbox cross Activision Blizzard, the world regulators, and the saga continues which, as much as I don't want to talk about it, in a big block of news. Our first story is from Isaiah Colbert, this is from Kotaku. Fed sued to prevent Microsoft Activision deal from going through. So last week we talked about how the FTC had been planning to sue them. Most people had thought that this was going to happen in the next year after the holidays, but no, it happened literally the next week, and the FTC came out and said, "Yeah, we see a problem with this deal, and we are suing to block it."
Yeah.
Anyone have any thoughts before I start going into the meat of this?
Not really. I mean, we'll see what happens. Like, I don't know. I at this point, I want Activision to change. If it changed from Microsoft, cool. If it changed from someone else in the future, cool. But like, it's always a thing every week. It's always a thing with this.
Me and Avery have been banging on the same drum for a while. I don't want Microsoft to necessarily fail, but the way they're going about this is upsetting. So Sony tends to breed their talent and IPs from within. They've been giving their studios carte blanche to create something, new and quote unquote innovative. And Microsoft's only solution is to buy up established shit, and kind of bully their way in the market.
That brings up an interesting quote that I had saved for later on, but I think it has merit now. This is from Jordan Midler from VDC. Phil Spencer claims PlayStation wants to grow by making Xbox smaller. Now, this is one of those comments I wish Jordan was here to give his perspective on how he reads this statement, because from when I read this statement, it reads very much in the Microsoft playing we are Microsoft, the corporation, who are probably 3 or 4 times bigger than Sony, the organization, leveraging the fact that we're much bigger to Sean's point, bully their way into the space. I don't want to call it bullying, that's a little charitable. Push our way further into the space, and we're complaining that another organization doesn't like this. Now, I made some comments about how Microsoft is a much bigger organization. That's true. Now, Xbox as an organization within Microsoft is much bigger than PlayStation in terms of actual talent.
Yeah. Before
the Activision deal, they were 18 deep. We weren't even 18. They were so 20 or so deep, and then they bought Bethesda and add those to their number, and we're like 32 or so odd studios. Now, if my math is correct, PlayStation is only like 18 or 19 studios making content. There are multiple teams in them, but they're making content. Microsoft has way more studios and teams and actual capital to make more content. Saying that this is making them small, that he's correct. PlayStation's I've beating this drum that if either of these companies could snap their finger and make the other one disappear, they would do it in a heartbeat. This is capitalism. This is competition. They don't give a shit about a healthy ecosystem of their of competing against people. They just want to win. And in that standpoint,
it's not Marvel and DC.
Yeah, actually, Marvel and DC would also want to snap a finger, and the other one would want to disappear.
Well, it's not Feige and I guess
James Gunn. Yeah, that makes sense. That is an analogy that works. But yeah, so he's saying that Sony's plans to make Xbox smaller, and I don't agree with the statement. Xbox is already a bigger studio. The reason you're losing is not because the reason you're losing is because you haven't been putting out games. And buying Activision Blizzard would solve. Buying Activision Blizzard is a band-aid on the actual problem, which is you have all these studios, all these teams. We're not getting any content from them, and it's been about 3-4 years. I think one of the big takeaways from the Game Awards that we didn't talk about was how it was the Sony press conference at the end of the year. The big press conference that we were hoping for PlayStation, we got it. It was the Game Awards, and Xbox had like 6 or 7 Game Pass ads to remind you that Game Pass is their main bread and butter, but didn't have any real content to show at the award show.
Sony had Death Stranding, Final Fantasy, Horizon, whatever else.
I imagine we're going to get like an Xbox show probably within the first 3 months of next year.
They have to.
They have to.
Yeah. So So this is a nothing burger statement. This is one of those. I don't fault Phil because he needs to have talking points out there to combat to sort of like build their case. This is one of those things I want Jordan here to hear his perspective, but I can't look at Xbox as an organization and be like, oh yeah, you're smaller than PlayStation. In terms of the market share, yes, but you're only smaller because you're not putting out enough games at a high enough quality to own market share.
It's a weird lens that you have to look through in order for that statement to be valid or feel valid. So, and it definitely has the tinge of, man, these lawyers are really putting words together to try to prove their point, and it's just like anyone who is looking at this who isn't in the courtroom or whatever is just like, this is just stupid now. This is just so dumb in terms of what you guys are saying and the back and forth that's happening. It's just like, can we just be done with this? Like, can a third? Nope.
Well, no,
can a third party take Activision?
I've been very adamant that I don't want this deal to go through because from a pure, like, sort of like Microsoft's track record with these type of things where like they plan to keep doing this, and like I still don't believe that you as the number 3 selling like console like in the space should be able to buy the number 5 console manufacturer in the space and have there be no questions about that as a thing, and like and market as a pro-consumer move. That doesn't make sense to me, even with all your other pro-consumer things that you end up doing. That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm of the mindset that like with Activision Blizzard's bullshit, that they as a company should not exist anymore. And if this deal doesn't go through and they end up with the old guard in charge, the best thing that could happen was for the corporation to dissolve. A lot of their IPs are big enough on themselves to live without need of a corporate overlord and or be bought out by other companies who could provide the same, I guess, internal the financials and internal like cleaning up of their teams to make things move forward. But that's just me. I'm very much alone in this because most of the video game audience is saying that this deal just needs to go through. It's better for everyone. Microsoft.
I think the industry as a whole has all been worn down by just the amount of stories that they've had to like mull through in order to, do their daily thing or do their weekly thing. And I feel like as it is right now, I don't have an alternative as to who else can swoop in and quote unquote save Activision.
No one but like a Tencent or one another.
Yeah, exactly.
Party with a lot of money, or like an Apple.
And then, yeah, I mean, Apple actually might be a choice because at least they're familiar with video games and they're not going to quote unquote ruin the properties like I believe a Tencent would or like a Google would. So, or even a Facebook would. So I don't know. It's just a bad, sticky situation.
Yeah. It's from another Tom Ivan story from VGC. Microsoft said it's ready for a court battle after the FTC sues to block Activision deal. Microsoft is pretty much saying it's one of those weird, funny post-Game Awards things where, like, you see Phil Spencer in the stands trying to be hyped for video games, but you can just see the look in his face. We're like, today was not a great day for Xbox. I kind of probably should be at the office dealing with this, but I'm here to celebrate video games. But yeah, Microsoft as an organization, they're going to be they're ready to fight back. One of the big interesting tidbits of information was that one of the things the FTC asserted for one of the reasons why they're blocking this is that Microsoft, quote unquote, lied to the EU regulators about the Bethesda deal. And then the EU regulators came out later on and said they didn't lie to us. This is a grave mischaracterization of what our conversations were like. So we'll see how this shit goes. The FTC hasn't been pretty big in regards of like shutting down corporate mergers. However, the biggest government win in terms of this was when like the Biden administration like shut down the Random House and Siegel and Schuster, two book publishers, from merging. So it's not like it's impossible, but it's very unlikely from a like legal standpoint that this will happen. It just depends on like how good the lawyers are and how quick of a time frame Microsoft wants to work with. Because this is one of those things that could stretch farther than their original timeline for when this was supposed to resolve.
Yeah.
Here's another Xbox quote. Microsoft claims Sony is more interested in talking to regulators than Xbox about Activision deal. This is from Tom Ivan. This is also, this little tidbit is in concert with another weird piece of news we got going to Kotaku.com for this. This is from Luke Plunkett. Microsoft announced its bizarre pledge to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo consoles. So prior to the FTC's whole thing, Microsoft, we had a big headline that Microsoft had a 10-year deal with Nintendo and then Steam about bringing Call of Duty continually to their consoles. Most people had hypothesized this was entirely to appease regulators in order to wage off the potential FTC blocking. That clearly didn't help. I laughed at this because I held my Switch in my hand and I've looked at a Call of Duty game now, and I fundamentally do not understand how you're going to get the Call of Duty experience native to a Switch.
There's no way.
When just the Call of Duty game client is like 100 gigs of memory.
I think the reading in between the lines is that they're going to put Call of Duty Mobile on Switch, and it's not going to be the Call of Duty, the console version of Call of Duty. It's going to be mobile.
The future Call of Duties, the mainline Call of Duties.
I think it's going to be like a mobile variant because like that's the only way that makes sense, because there's no way, even with xCloud or whatever, there's no way that the Switch is going to handle that.
I mean, xCloud is the only answer. xCloud is the only answer, and the only way you get xCloud on the console is if you put Game Pass on the console, which we'll see if that's a route and avenue Nintendo is super interested in. We'll see.
Steam, my vote is mobile though.
Yeah, Steam. In regards to Steam, Steam's like, we don't need a 10-year deal. We apparently trust Game Newell, like we trust Microsoft to be good on their word, and if they say they're going to keep it on their console for 10 years, they're going to keep it on our platform for 10 years. So that's the thing. And then our final story is from VGC. This is from Chris Gullion. The FTC may yet approve Microsoft Activision deal with concessions, it's claimed. So ultimately, this is the nothing burger of, hey, this deal probably will go through, and it will probably just go through with there being clear concessions of things that Activision Blizzard, Microsoft will have to do with Activision Blizzard to get it to go through. Maybe up to, like, to Jordan's point, what did he call those again? Consent deals about things that they want to...
Yeah.
Of deals. maybe selling off parts of Activision Blizzard to make it leaner as a company, so they're not absorbing the entire meat of it. Which is
we gonna see.
a big thing. Just gonna reiterate, I don't want this deal to go happen. This isn't console partisanship coming through. I don't play Call of Duty, which seems to be the big brunt of the thing. It's me just being like, I don't agree with the top three buying the top 5 and everyone having no problem with this. And then
on the face of it, it just doesn't look good. It don't feel good, and that's not the kind of future that we want to happen going forward.
No, it's one of those. It's one of those things where Microsoft has been adamant they want to keep buying studios. So, like, okay, you've just absorbed this thing. You're now 40 studios deep into your organization, and you want to keep buying more. And you've made them. Well, didn't just say buy studios. You've also said buy publishers. So we're just gonna keep letting you buy publishers.
Right.
Yeah, the more monolithic any industry gets, the worse off it gets.
And then by that standpoint, then Sony has to actively go out and buy public. Like, I've always joked about the Square Enix thing, which I think may or may not happen, and I think it'd be perfectly fine, especially with PlayStation's current relationship with Square Enix. But like after that, if they're 50 studios deep and own all first-person shooters and own all Western RPGs, you as PlayStation have to actively play this arms race, and that's not interesting to me.
Right. All right. That is the game news. This has been another episode of Press X Start Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this hefty one as much as we enjoyed having these conversations. In case you missed any of the details, you can find any of this and more on our website at pressx2start.com. Do us a solid, as I said, time and time again. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. If you want to join our conversations, you can by joining our Discord at pressx2start.com/Discord. If you hear that ruffling in the background, it is London right now going through my personal things. I should stop her, but it is what it is. Father duties, right? With that being said,
wouldn't know, DJ.
You're right. I'm only just talking.
Avery is responsible.
The only thing I've ever raised is the roof.
We have good times, guys. We have good times. All right. You take care. You play some more video games and be good.
Shout out to raising KJ for announcing their love to the world and the haters being haters. Let's go, Valorant.
I agree.
All right, y'all. Peace.